When Jeff Bezos was in high school, he worked in McDonald's as a short order line cook during the breakfast shift. Several decades later, and the 56-year-old is worth almost $200 billion. A true example of the American dream, Bezos started life as Jeffrey Preston Jorgensen, but was adopted by his mother's second husband, Cuban immigrant Miguel Mike Bezos. Since this unorthodox early childhood, the Amazon boss excelled at high school and into Princeton University, where he graduated with a 4.2 grade point average. After this, he had his pick of employers and decided to settle for a telecommunications startup. After a transition into banking and a stint on Wall Street, he set up Amazon, an online bookstore, from his garage during the e-commerce boom of the 1990s. As I probably don't need to tell you, Amazon now sells more than just books. It sells pretty much everything. This is the primary reason for Bezos sitting at the top of the Forbes tree as the richest man in the world. With so much money most wouldn't know what to do with it, he's the prime candidate for billionaire purchases. So let's take a look at what Jeff spends his money on. Remember, you can support us by liking this video and subscribing if you want to see more like it. But for now, let's continue our look at top billionaire purchases made by Jeff Bezos. When you think of Bezos, you think of Amazon. You don't think of other internet giant Google. But ever the shrewd businessman, Jeff made one of his first ever investments into, at the time, a little search engine company looking for a little bit of help to get going. Since then, the search engine has taken over the world and is now valued at more than $100 billion. Bearing that in mind, this makes this relatively small investment of $250,000 that Bezos provided in 1998 a very, very wise one. It's not known exactly how much the investment is worth now, but it's safe to say that it could pay for an Amazon Prime membership for a fair few years. It says something about the wealth of a man when a lakeside mansion is only the 9th most expensive purchase on a list. This is exactly the case here. The Amazon boss has this beautiful home a stone's throw away from Bill Gates' abode, and it's one of his most popular homes. He technically owns 2 properties in the area of Medina, Seattle, but we're going to focus on the original that he bought in 1998 for $10 million. It's a 20,600 square foot, 5-bedroom, 4-bathroom house overlooking Lake Washington. Medina is popular with billionaires in general, not just tech behemoths. This is because of its small population, relative secrecy, and beautiful lakeside views. A fitting place for the richest man on earth, but not the only place, because if you think he only owns one property, you're very much mistaken. He also owns the biggest house in Washington. Don't act like you're surprised. The gigantic mansion used to be a textile museum and features a bold, extravagant exterior, with enough rooms to host a small army. Since buying the property for $23 million, he's invested a further $12 million to make the place even bigger. The plan is to include 25 bathrooms, 11 bedrooms, 3 kitchens and 1 giant ballroom. And who would doubt this man making any plan a reality? Moving away from property and onto something very different. Jeff's next highest buy is a clock. Now you might be confused in thinking that a $30 million plus clock exists, unless he's buying Big Ben in London, and you'd be right. Not about Big Ben, but the fact that this clock doesn't exist. It's a project named the Clock of the Long Now, and it's designed to tick once per year and chime once per millennium. The thinking behind the project is that the clock will last for 10,000 years, and according to Bezos himself, it's all mechanical, powered by day-night thermal cycles and synchronized at solar noon. When it's completed, it should stand at 500 feet tall inside a mountain on Bezos' property in Texas. This level of ambition for an engineering project comes with an ambitious price tag, $42 million and counting. All this and he could have got a watch off Amazon next day. With the house in Seattle, Washington and Texas, as well as others we'll get to later, it's important to be able to visit these places and quickly. That's where the next purchase comes in. A Gulfstream G650 with the longest range for a civilian jet, as well as the highest top speed of any civilian plane. This seems like an appropriate way for the subject of this video to get around. The plane would have cost around 65 million, which is a lot of money for a passenger count of just 8. That being said, even the world's best plane doesn't dent this bank balance. If this plane sounds familiar, it's because it's the same model as the one Elon Musk flies in. Not bad billionaire company for Jeff to keep. Back to real estate now, and it'd be surprising if the richest American didn't own at least one property in New York, so it's not surprising to find out that he owns several. He spent $80 million on 3 luxurious apartments in the Big Apple, which means that he always has a place to stay on the East Coast. The purchase, which includes a penthouse and 2 apartments below it, is located in a renovated 1912 neo-Gothic building that overlooks Madison Square Park. The penthouse encompasses 10,000 square feet throughout 3 floors, with an additional 5,700 square feet of outdoor terraces. It has 5 bedrooms, 5 bathrooms and 3 powder rooms. And which self-respecting billionaire would be without a powder room? And which self-respecting billionaire would be without his own space company? It seems to come with the territory of enormous wealth, because once you've conquered Earth, I guess you aim for space. Where Elon Musk has SpaceX, Jeff Bezos has Blue Origin. The 2 companies are participating in a modern space race, with both outdoing each other in their quest for viable commercial spaceflight. All this comes with a cost, and to fund the company, Bezos sells $1 billion of Amazon stock each year to fund it. Since its creation in the year 2000, Blue Origin has developed technologies to aid in space travel and run dozens of test launches to varying degrees of success. Bezos remains hopeful that the company will be able to start flying customers into space in the coming years. Where the modern accessory to vast wealth is a space company, it used to be owning your own newspaper. In true Citizen Kane style, Bezos has this covered as well. He bought the Washington Post for a huge $250 million. Although he wasn't interested in the newspaper business at first, former publisher Donald Graham convinced Bezos that the Post could use someone of total mastery of the internet to help the paper grow. He was right, and under Bezos, the newspaper continues to thrive. We now come to the final 2 purchases, and the ones that get into the billions. The first of which might not be the obvious choice when thinking of massive purchases. As well as splashing the cash on houses, investments and engineering projects, Bezos has also invested heavily in charity. The Bezos Day One Fund launched with a $2 billion commitment to focus on making meaningful and lasting impacts in 2 areas: funding existing non-profits that help families experiencing homelessness, and creating a network of new, non-profit Tier 1 preschools in low-income communities. 2 very worthy causes, and a huge investment from Bezos in both. This almost represents his biggest investment, but that is reserved for groceries. Well, in a way. Jeff Bezos' largest investment is in a grocery store, Whole Foods. The takeover of this health food chain cost him $13.7 billion. At the time, experts thought this was his first mistake as an entrepreneur, but with a big overlap between Whole Foods customers and Amazon Prime members, the takeover started to make more sense. As it's only been a year since the investment, it remains to be seen whether this has been a good one. But one thing's for sure, it won't have been by chance. As Amazon have been known to spend $23 billion on research and development in a single year, you can bet Bezos has a plan for Whole Foods. So those are Bezos' big buys that would make other billionaires look more like mere millionaires. If you had $200 million, what would you do with it? Which Jeff Bezos purchases interest you the most? Let us know in the comments, and if you like this video, please click on that like button and subscribe to the channel to see more like it. Thanks for watching.